YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy, the CVR Kid. We back with you guys. Took a minute because I had to call in some reinforcements for part 4 of the clutch rebuild. As y'all can see over here, we got Big Brother Toriano in the building. And in the toy box, Big Brother Toriano is an actual mechanic. I'm not. So I ran into some trouble, had to call in reinforcements. So we actually have already pulled everything out off camera, but we're gonna walk through what we did. So partially for my benefit, because when he leaves, I gotta put it all back together. Oh boy, y'all can't see me. And I don't wanna get stuck again. All right, so we're gonna run through this. All right.
And see how your sharp side.
All right.
So it goes flat side out, round side in.
Round side in, got it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And that's all to it.
So y'all can see we got clutch plates and steels already unboxed. Pretty much we already pulled everything out. Now I'm gonna tell you guys, this one little lock nut was the pain in the ass. Now according to Honda, you're not supposed to use an impact gun on this, but Big Brother Toriano let us know that in the shop, that's what they do. I'm an IT guy. So just like with Microsoft, there's a way you take the test and there's a way you actually do things in real life. In real life, you use the impact gun. So y'all see, there's the inside of the clutch basket. Now we're gonna put all of this back together and I'll get all of that on film so you guys can see how pretty much how this went. All right, here we go. All right, guys, thanks to the assist from Big Brother Toriano, we were able to get that lock nut off, and you guys didn't get to see it on camera, but the clutch basket, the whole thing comes out as one piece. Once we took the lock nut out, we were able to basically just stick our hand in and pull the whole thing out. All right, so you really didn't miss much there. But as you guys can see, everything's out. All right, the whole clutch basket is empty. We got everything out of there. Now we're just gonna clean it out. We're gonna take a little bit of brake clean right here. All right, we're gonna clean out all the remnants from the old clutch fibers, and then once we do that, we'll start reassembling everything. I'll walk you guys through that process. All right, so got my handy dandy blue paper towels. I'm just gonna actually wipe this all out. Hit it with the brake clean, and I'm gonna wipe everything out, and then we'll start putting everything back together. All right, so let's adjust. Make sure you guys have a good view, can see everything that we're doing here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna go ahead and hit each one of these with just a little bit of brake clean. Actually, I'm not even gonna do it that way. What I'm gonna do is I'll spray it on the paper towel, and then I'll just go ahead and wipe it out. That way we don't make that much of a mess. All right, it's pretty nasty. You guys can see that. That's 13 years of buildup. As I told you guys before, or maybe I didn't, these are, the clutches we just pulled out are the original clutches. I bought this bike brand new in 2008, and it spent most of its life on the street, but the last 2 years it's been on the track. And they finally gave out, finally went kaput on me. And that's okay, though they aren't built to last for life, especially, you're running track days and things like that. Probably would have went out sooner if I was running full races, where I was abusing the bike a little bit more. But it's to be expected. So it's actually not that bad in here, guys. But just want to make sure we get everything cleaned out. And that was also on the advice of Big Brother Toriano. All right, we got to get his bike on the channel. You guys got to see his Harley. He's always doing something to that thing. Always got some new accessory or some new work he's done, new wheel. And when he was riding sport bikes, it was the same way. And just to let you guys know, Big Brother Toriano, he's a drag racer. All right, he's been taking a couple years off, but it was routine for me to go to his house and see a Hayabusa completely disassembled in his basement, and then he'll put it back together just because that's what he does. So he's my go-to guy whenever I get myself into a bind like I did here. I call Big Brother Toriano. Usually he can give me some advice over the phone and I can execute. In this case, I needed his help. All right, so now we are ready to start reassembling, and we're going to see how this thing, how I do with this. All right, so we'll start putting the clutch plates and springs and everything back in the order that they came out. All right, now these, you'll see I have, if you notice, I got these last three that are hanging on the foot peg. And what I did with these was, on the advice again of Big Brother Toriano, we hung them. You guys can't see my face because it's got the daggone sky in the background. Sorry about that. But what we did was we hung them on the rear foot peg in the reverse order that they came out, so that I put them back in order. This plate goes in first, then this ring, and then the spring with the rounded edge out. So I have to dip that in oil. All right, the instructions say to let it soak for 15 minutes. But again, there's the instructions and there's a way you actually do it in the shop. And according to my big brother Toriano, dip and go. So that's what we're going to do. I already have the oil poured in the oil pan over there. You guys can't see it off camera, but I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Dip the clutch plate. Go ahead and put that one in and put the towel down so we don't make so much of a mess. And then we'll start getting everything reassembled. All right, so give me 1 second. Let me grab that. All right, in fact, let me give you guys an angle so you can see everything we're doing. All right, there we go. It's a pretty good angle. And if you guys see in the background, I don't know if you can see it, the road dog is laid out here right by the garage door. All right, so we already have our oil in this pan. And move some of these tools out of the way that I'm not gonna need right now. All right, I don't need that. I don't even know where I did. All right, so what we're gonna do, start reassembling. All right, this guy, we're gonna dip him. All right, get him nice and oiled up. And we'll pull him back out. We'll take our handy dandy screwdriver. I don't wanna have to keep wiping my hands off too much. I'm gonna have to wipe a little bit, but not too much every single time I take one of these plates in and out of the oil. All right, so got him nice and soaked. And then he's going right back in. All right, and it fits in the grooves. It's got grooves here that this guy actually fits in. And boom, there it is. All right. Then this guy actually fits inside of, right inside the diameter of that one. All right, I said this one and that one. All right, I should have used the proper terminology, but it's just the clutch disc and plates and all, those things. All right, so that goes right back in there like so. All right, if you guys can see that fits right inside of there. Let me get you guys a close up of what I just did. All right, you guys can see that plate, and then that little spring is just inside, that little rudder piece is just inside of it. And then this guy actually sits right on top of that. All right, and that part's done. That's simple. It's not, as it turns out, it's not an overly complicated process. All right, now, for this part, we got to put our clutch discs and springs back in. All right, and all of these guys are pretty much the same. All right, so these are the old ones, by the way. I'm not reusing these. These are the old ones. I got all new ones right behind me that I'm going to put in. I'm going to do one by one. We're going to install those one by one as they go, and they're all the same. There's nothing different or special about them. right, so here's what they look like when they're not installed. You got the discs, all right, and then the clutch plates. All right, so we're gonna set those down. All right, we're gonna go one by one. And actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take them off of, yeah, rather than do that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take them off of the clutch outer, because they drop right off, guys. If you see that, they drop right off of there. And then that goes back in the bike. All right, these are the old ones that came out. All right, and like I said, they're all the same. You got your old disc or disc and plate. All right, and we're gonna put the new ones back in. All right, so I'm gonna set these old ones out of the way. All right, and we're gonna drop them on one by one. Like I said, so we'll set the old ones out of the way for now. And we're gonna put them on in order. We're gonna dip them in the oil and we're gonna install it. So what goes first is a plate. All right, so we're gonna take clutch plate. And I gotta make sure I do this, put the correct side. I may have to give Big Brother Toriano a call, because he did tell me how to, that a specific side goes on. All right, so let's look at okay, I got it. The sharp edge goes to the inside. All right, and these are the same. So okay, I got it. All right, guys, we're ready to rock and roll now. All right, we're gonna dip in oil. Let that oil drain off. You guys can see we just dipped it. Oil's draining off. And then we're gonna drop it on. Like so. All right, we dropped the first one on. All right, then we're gonna take our plate. Again, our sharp edge you guys can't see this on camera, but there's a sharp edge and a rounded edge. The sharp edge goes to the inside. So we're gonna dip our plate. All right, we're gonna let that drain off a little bit. And then make sure we get the sharp edge to the inside. All right, so that's pretty good. And drop it off. All right, so now we got the first disc and plate in place. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and finish this off camera, and then I'll come back with you guys when we're ready to put the whole basket back in. All right, so stay tuned. It'll be a second for you guys. It'll be a couple of minutes for me. All right, guys, we got that all wrapped up. We got all our new clutch springs and clutch plates and discs back on the basket. Now we're gonna slide this whole assembly back inside, and then we'll start reassembling everything. So let's see if this is as easy as it looks. Nothing's been easy so far, at least not as easy as it should have been. But let's see if we can't get this back in here. All right, we'll move. And first things first, let me move this. Let me get this oil pan out of the way, because that's a mess and a disaster waiting to happen. So I'll get this out of the way. All right, we'll put this over here where it was. All right. Now we got that thing out of the way. Now let's see what we can do. Hopefully this goes in as easily as it came out. We just pulled it right out. So hopefully it goes back in just as easy. Let's see. Up, up, up. Get everything lined up, guys. We may have to go a different route. Yeah. It pulled right out, guys, but it doesn't. Oh, wait a minute, guys. Hold on. We might have action, guys. I think we got action. All right, we got to get it all the way in. It's not all the way in. All right. All right, guys. Now we're all the way in. All right, that wasn't that bad, guys. All right. Wait, let's see. All right, I think. Okay. All right. That might do the trick, guys. All righty. We're gonna find out for sure. All right, we're not gonna half-ass anything. All right, we gotta make sure we get everything in here the way it's supposed to be. Otherwise, we could have problems. But I think, yeah, this doesn't go in any further. All right, so now we just gotta start to reassemble everything. All right, so we got that in. We got the spring seat, the pressure plate, all these other pieces that have to go back in. All right, we got new clutch springs. All right, so these are the old clutch springs. We're gonna get rid of those. All right, and we got brand new ones. And when you put these in, the rounded side goes out. All right, so what this is, when we put the this is the spring seat, okay? This piece here is a spring seat, and that goes on like that. So that's when I slide this in, the clutch springs, the rounded side are out, all right? And then this should go just like, should fit in there just like that. Wait a minute. All right, that's the way it goes in, guys. But I have to make sure I do this correctly. I got the spring seat. Clutch springs. Actually, guys, I gave you the wrong information. This is the spring holder. I'm sorry. And then this goes here. Oh, no, it doesn't. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Made. All right. Alrighty. We got to make sure we do this correctly. Ah, I know what it was. This goes inside of there. Aha. Now we cooking with grease, guys. All right, we okay. That goes in there like that. Somehow I'm feeling like it's not all the way flush. All right, so I want to make sure I get that right. And then this washer actually goes in there, and then the lock nut goes on. All right, and then we can reassemble everything back to the way it was. All right, so guys, this actually wasn't that bad once we got that lock nut off. Wasn't even that bad. All right, so let me I think I got the new lock nut is sitting on top of the gas tank. Yep, right there. All right, guys, this was not bad at all. Reassembly, this went a whole lot faster than the disassembly, obviously. All right, by the amount of time it took just to get to this point. All right, so Let me get this thing open. All right, guys, that's our new lock nut. All right, and that goes in here like so. How about that, guys? All right, now we got to take our handy then. We use the impact gun to disassemble it. We don't need the impact gun to reassemble it. We could have used it, but we don't, again, I consulted with Big Brother Toriano before I made this decision. All right. And in order to, obviously these things are built on the assembly line, on an assembly line, which is a little bit different from doing things by hand. But when you're reassembling, ooh boy, okay. That's not quite where it needs to be, guys. All right, so something's off. I'm gonna have to pull everything back out because this lock nut should go all the way down flush so that I can take that little lip and hammer it down and create the difficulty that we had taking it apart. So I got to figure that part out. And I may have to pull everything back out and do it one by one. I'm not sure, but it's not as intimidating as it seems. So I'm going to figure this out. I didn't feel like everything was flush the way it should be. All right, so I'm going to figure this out, but I'm going to do this off camera because I don't want to take up a whole lot of time and doing calculations. So I'm going to figure this out. And for me, it may be 10 minutes, it may be a half an hour, maybe an hour. For you guys, it's just going to be a second. All right, so let me figure this out, and then I'll come back when I got everything flush, and we'll get that lock nut back in there, and we'll put everything else back together. All right, so I'll see you guys in 1 second. All right, guys, after some fumbling around, I finally got it. I had to actually pull everything back out, line it all up, put everything back in. And I didn't get a chance to show you guys on camera because it was just all part of the process of getting the lock nut back on, getting everything in there flush. I just got to tighten this lock nut down, and then I can reassemble the rest and put everything back together, and then we'll be good to go, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this lock nut down right now. I had to make a phone call to Brother Toriano, Big Brother Toriano. All right, coming in strong in the clutch for me. All right, but pretty much I got everything where it needs to be. And again, as I told you guys before, one thing he let me know was that didn't necessarily have to use the impact wrench to put this thing back together, but definitely needed to take it apart. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting the clutch tool in place to lock the clutch in place so I can get it nice and tight. So I'll put that in there. I take my smaller breaker bar. All right, I'm going to put that in, and then I can hold the clutch in place from spinning on me while I tighten this lock nut down all the way. All right, because we don't want any accidents happening when we ride. All right, and all right. Okay, so we got that back in place, guys. Now, the part that we have to do, really don't want to do it, but I know that Honda did it for a reason, so I got to do the same thing in reverse. As I showed you guys before, when I was disassembling, there's a little notch right here where I actually have to bang that lip of the lock nut in, and what that does is that keeps the lock nut from spinning free when you're riding under vibration and under heavy load. So I'm just going to take my screwdriver and my hammer. Actually, I'm going to use a smaller screwdriver that fits in there a little bit better. All right, and I got a rubber mallet hammer, not a hard hammer. Of course, I have a hard hammer, but I'm going to create that indentation in the lock nut. Or maybe I'll have to use a harder hammer and a bigger screwdriver. Yep. Let's see, let's use a bigger screwdriver. Okay. I may have to do that off camera as well, guys. But we got that part done. So for the most part, it's just putting everything back in the way it came out, guys. All right, so there's not much left to do. We got the snap ring. We got the clutch lifter piece, the lifter plate bearing that comes out as goes in and out as one piece, and then we got the stopper ring and the snap ring to go back in. We'll put this gear back in where it goes, and then we'll just clean the cover up, put it back on, guys, and fill the bike with oil, and we'll be good to go. All right, so I'm gonna do some of this off camera because it's almost like busy work. I don't want to bore you guys to death with me trying to put the indentation back in the lock nut. What do they call it? Well, I forget what the actual terminology for it is, but what I call it is a pain in the butt. Okay, all right. They call trying to find the exact terminology, so I don't, I gotta stake it. All right. The terminology they use in Honda's documentation is called staking the lock nut, so I have to do that. And then there's nothing to see there. And literally, I'm going to take a screwdriver and a hammer and put the little indentation in the lip, and then from there, that part will be done. And then I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, I'll come back and get back on camera and reassemble the clutch lifter and a center plate bearing, a snap ring, and a stopper ring, that's the lifter. Okay, that's the center plate, and then we got, as I showed you guys when we were disassembling, this is the stopper ring, and we got the snap ring. All right, so we got to put those pieces back on. All right, we'll put all of those back on, and then we'll put that gear back on, and then we'll be good to go, guys. We'll button it all up and get the bike started. Let's get some oil flowing through there, and that'll be it for the clutch repair. All right, so I'm going to get that done. What I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to stake this off camera, and then I'll come back and put everything else back together on camera, and we'll be good to go. So again, for me, maybe 10 minutes, maybe a half an hour, who knows? For you guys, it'll be 1 second. All right, but let me go ahead and get that done, and then I'll come back with you guys, and we'll put the rest of this back together and button it all up. All right, thanks for hanging with me, guys. Okay, guys, so I closed the garage door so I can get a little bit better light, so we can light will be a little bit better. But we got our center lock nut staked again. All right, so now we got to get our clutch lifter piece and the clutch lifter plate / bearing back in place. Then we'll go ahead and put the stopper ring and the snap ring back in, and we'll be good. Then we'll be just about done. All right, so let's see how easy or difficult this will be. All right, so this is the center plate bearing, or clutch lifter plate and bearing. You see, if you guys can see, there's a bearing in there. All right, and that just drops in just like that, real simple. And then the clutch lifter piece. All right, this little notched part goes inside, and this is the part where you gotta kind of work with it, because if I remember correctly, this is not supposed to stick out. Okay, it's actually supposed to push all the way in. And when I disassembled this thing, I took the cover off, and then it was the next day before I came back out, and it was actually sticking out. So, or maybe it doesn't. Let's see. Actually, guys, I got that backwards. The notch piece doesn't go in. See, I messed up. The notched piece is the piece that actually is supposed to be out. at least according to Honda's documentation. So that's fine. I'm not sure it's supposed to stick out that far, but according to this, that's the way it's supposed to look. All right, so when we go to the next, we'll go to the reassembly part. All right, we got all those things done. And now here's the last part where they're telling us how to put everything back together. All right, the lock nut we got staked, install the lifter bearing into the lifter plate, and then install the clutch lifter piece into the lifter bearing. All right. Oh, wait a minute, guys. Something doesn't add up. Ah, okay. I see. Let's pull this out. And we'll pull this out. And this actually goes through here this way. And then that goes in. That's how that's supposed to go, guys. See, it helps when you read the instructions. All right. So, for all you DIYers out there, if you don't know exactly what you're doing, make sure you read the instructions. All right. So, now that we got that part done, our next thing is to install the stopper ring and the snap ring. All right, so the stopper ring goes in first. And I remember that from taking this apart. This is the stopper ring, the one that's solid all the way around. All right, that actually goes in. That's pretty simple. That just slips right in there. Now here was the one that was a little tricky, was the snap ring. All right, so the snap ring, we actually need to kind of finagle with it a bit because it actually, once it's out, it opens up a bit. So let me see if I can get this. Haha. So what we do is we take our snap ring tool. Now I know. All right. We take our snap ring tool, and if you notice, the snap ring tool has two little notches on the top, and the snap ring itself has two little holes. So what we do is we put those notches in the holes, and if it works the way I think it does, we should be able to hold this together to get it to reinstall it. Now, it's a little trickier. Seems simple enough, right? But it's not quite that simple. Well, it's just tricky, that's all. It's simple, but everything that's simple isn't always easy. So we're going to see if we can get this done. We may end up doing this without the tool. Who knows? All right, let's see. Let's try it this way. Okay. Oh, nope. Thought we had it, guys, but we didn't. So we'll keep working on it. It's no big deal. All right, guys, I have to apologize to you guys because as I was reassembling this thing, my daggone battery in the camera died, or the phone. So I was just steady talking to you guys and explaining what I was doing, not realizing that the camera had shut off. Everything died. So there's a few things you guys, basically you guys missed me getting everything reassembled. As you can see, it's all put back together internally. All right, we got the clutch basket back in, got everything put together, the clutch lifter piece, the plate, everything's back in, everything's tightened down. So now we just got to put our cover back on. All right, so I'll show you guys here. All right, as you saw me earlier, take the cover in an earlier video, take the cover off. This is the cover. On the inside, the main thing we have to do when we put this back on is this little hole right here has to line up properly on the clutch lifter piece, because that's what engages when you squeeze the clutch. If I can find the what's on this end, you guys can't see it, but once I hook the clutch cable back up, the mechanism that turns this actually is what pulls the clutch lifter piece out. All right, so one thing we got to do is Honda doesn't use a physical gasket. It actually uses a liquid gasket that seals around the edges. And I knew this because I've done this before in changing the stator on my 04 1000. So I went to Hires a Cycle here in Laurel, Maryland, to pick up it was called Honda Bond. It's just a semi-drying liquid gasket. All right, they didn't have any, but they did have the Yamaha Lube, which is the exact same thing. It's just the Yamaha branded version of it. They're interchangeable. So I'm opening this up now, and I'm going, I got this open, and what I'm going to do is crack this open. This opens just like any other tube of this type of stuff, for lack of a better term. All right, we'll put the cone on to actually let us apply it. And then when we apply this, we actually, around the edges here, we apply it all the way around, and then we reinstall the cover. And once we do that, we let it set. It takes about an hour, according to the package, to actually form the seal. So I'm going to get everything back in place, button it all back down, and then leave it. We'll let it sit, and I'll come back later, and at that point, refill the oil. Start the button. I'll refill the oil and all that. But what I'll do is, after I get this all buttoned up, I'll reconnect the clutch cable, put the clutch lever back on up top, and reconnect the clutch cable on that end, and put everything back together. And then at that point, we'll be ready to go, short of letting the bonding agent set and create the seal, and then button everything back up, put the plastic back on, and we'll be ready to take it out for a test ride, guys. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna do that off camera, because I'm sure you guys don't want to see me just lining this thing with the bead and everything. All right, so I'm gonna do that off camera. I'm gonna get that cover back on. And then again, I'll come back to you guys once I got the cover on, and then we'll walk through the process of reinstalling the clutch cable and getting all that stuff together. All right, so you guys hang tight with me, and appreciate you guys hanging in there for the entirety of this video, because we've run into a few hiccups, but we got it together. You just got to stick with it, guys. All right, so let me get that done, and then I'll get right back with you. All right, guys. As you can see, we got the cover back on. All right, now we just got to install. If you remember these guys, all these little 10mm bolts that go in there, tighten them down, tighten it down. All right, we got a handy dandy miniature socket. All right, and we just got to reinstall everything the way it came off. Now I'm gonna get some light here. All right, so if you remember, this was the pain in the butt part. All right, but we're gonna go ahead and we gotta put my carbon fiber cover back on. All right, actually for now, I can even put the oil cap back in. All right, as well as the dipstick, although I haven't put the oil, I haven't refilled the bike with oil yet, but that's okay, because I can do that after the fact. I want to let this sit and cure anyway, just to make sure that we're good to go with the seal. All right, we got some excess oil and things on here we want to wipe off. It'll probably smoke a little bit and burn off once we test ride the bike and let everything get hot. So this actually just sits right on top like so. All right, if I remember. I haven't done this part in a while, but it's not that hard. Actually goes just like this. Okay. Huh. Ah, there we are. Perfect. That sits on there like that. All right, and then we'll just reassemble everything. We got a few little pieces. All right, this guy, he actually, so if you remember here, guys, if I move this out of the way, let me get a little close, get you guys a little bit better angle here. All right, if you remember, we got our clutch cable, all right, and then there's a connector. Actually, I'm gonna get this light out of my face and give you guys some better light. All right, we got the clutch cable. Wow, sorry guys, I'm not even gonna edit that out. All right, but we got the clutch cable. Uh-oh, getting a little chatter from the camera, guys. All right, there we go. All right, if you guys remember, we have the clutch cable and a connector that actually, bolts in. So we got to set those in place. All right, I don't know if you guys can see, but we're going to set those in place so that we could bolt everything back up. And then once we get that done, once we get those in place, we can start installing the bolts. All right, so I actually got to get this turned out because remember I kind of moved it out of the way. All right, now that's lined up and ready to go. And there's one more bracket. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's right here. And this bracket, if I remember correctly, lines up right there. You guys can't see that hole, but now we're ready to start putting bolts back in. Guys, we're at the finish line. This is awesome. All right. Now, you asked me that question a few days back. I might have had a different answer for you. All right, but now that we're close to the finish line, we're ready to start reinstalling 10 millimeter bolts. I'm excited, guys. All right, so nothing really big here. I'm going to change the camera angle a bit because I need to make some space for myself. All right, change the lighting angle a little bit. All right, and guess what, guys? We're going to start putting bolts in. How about that? All right, so just like when we took the bolts out, we're going to go crossways. So we're going to go one on the bottom, one on the top, side, side, diagonal, diagonal, until we get all bolts in. I forget how many there are. I was about to say 10, but I don't want to tell a lie. So we'll get that guy started. That went in pretty easily. Thank the Lord. All right. And then we'll go to the one directly up, from him. See if this guy goes in just as easy. And he feels like he is. That's just perfect, guys. All right, and what we're going to do, we're going to get them all in. We're going to tighten them down by hand. And then we'll go ahead and get them all tightened down. Get them all torqued down properly. All right. And then we'll go here. On this corner, we're going to do both of these two and then two over here. All right. And for you guys that are interested, this is a Sato Racing carbon fiber engine cover. It's actually been tested once and it worked pretty well. Not on the track though. I had a little spill on the street a few years back. I don't know. Can't remember how long ago it was. So actually, no, you know what? It's been over 4 years. 4.5 years, probably 5 years ago that I had that little spill. As you can see, it held up well. All right. Tell you what, I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing in traffic, and it caught up to me. So for all my riders out there in the rider sphere, be careful when you're out there breaking traffic laws, because things can happen and go wrong. See, we missed a bracket. Almost missed a bracket. All right, there's one little bracket here underneath that That guy bolts, hooks in right there and goes underneath. We'll bolt this guy in. And let's take our ratchet and do this spin. It's a little quicker to spin it by hand this way. We'll get that hand tightened like so. And we'll move on to the next one. All right, that's good. We'll get the next hole in. Again, we'll move this plastic out of the way. Get hand tightened. There we go. All right, we got a few more to go, guys. We'll go down here. All right, get this guy hand tightened. Bam, done. And then we'll go to his counterpart, crossways. All right, we'll get him hand tightened. All right. And then it looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4 more to go, guys. And then we'll take, oh, wait a minute. More than 4, sorry. But we're just about done. All right, we'll get this guy. And you know, this is the boring part of the process, guys, but it's part of the process nonetheless. All right, go crossways. And the reason we do this, the reason I do this crossways is actually something I saw, I think in a different repair video, or maybe I read it somewhere, I'm not sure. But basically, you want to make sure everything gets tightened down evenly. So rather than do, you know, kind of go around clockwise or counterclockwise, if we go crossways and we keep the same amount, or keep everything, the pressure even around the edges of the cover. All right, that's the reason we do it crossways. And you know, everybody has their own technique. No one way I think is right or wrong. Are some better than others? Sure, absolutely. You know, there's always a better way to do things. I'm sure when I look at the comments on this video, you know, there'll be people out there that'll be ripping me a new one for the way I did something, and maybe some professional mechanics out there or somebody out there that has done it and has some tips or a better way for me to do things. I'm open, guys. You know, like I told you guys, I'm not a professional mechanic, so I'm perfectly willing to accept the fact that I don't know everything about doing this, but I do know it's not that difficult. You know, it's just a matter of taking your time, being patient, which I've had to learn over the course of my life. That, you know, sometimes just if you're just a little bit patient, things will come together the way they're supposed to. And that's all it is, guys. And I imagine it's probably the same thing with cars. I don't do a ton of wrenching on my own cars, but I do some. And a lot of times that's all it is, guys. That's literally all it is. All right, so this last one, got to turn this bracket just a bit to get it to line up. No big deal. All right, it's a two-hander here. We'll drop the socket for now. All right, I think we got it. All right, now I need my socket again. Go ahead and get this thing turned by hand. Yep, look at that, guys. All right. A little bit harder than I thought. Let me get a little closer. And part of this is that my fingers are starting to slide. So we may have to do that one. We may have to actually use the wrench for that one. And I don't mind, because it's time to start tightening them all up anyway. Oops. There we go. How about that, guys? We've gotten pretty much to the finish line. And hopefully, I don't have to take it apart again. Because if I do, I'm not going to be happy about that. So, what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go on and tighten all of these up. And then I'll come back to you guys when it's time to reconnect the clutch cable as well as on the top end. And then that'll be it. We'll like I said, we're going to let it set and let that gasket, set and cure before we put any oil in here. All right, so I'm not going to start the bike up because I want that to actually cure. I don't want to have any leaks or anything like that. But let me go ahead and tighten all these bolts up off camera. Then I'll come back to you guys and I'll go ahead and get the clutch cable reinstalled. And then we'll be ready to rock and roll. All right, so for me, it'll be a few minutes. Again, for you guys, it'll be just over to the next scene. All right, so give me 1 second and I'll be right back with you guys. All right, guys, so we got the cover button back up. Now I'm going to reinstall the clutch cable. All right, you guys, I know it's hard for you to tell, but there is a little notch right here on the outside where this cable, the end of this cable slides into. All right, so I'm gonna get that in there. It should be pretty easy to get in. Boom, done. All right, there we go. That guy's in. All right, now the reason it's so loose is because we still got to connect the other end. All right, so that end's fine, but now we actually have to go in. We have to, if you guys remember, I had to take the clutch lever off in order to access the area where the clutch cable connects on the other end. So I'm going to have to go up top. Let me move this back some. I'm going to have to go up top and reinstall. I had to do it in reverse. Put the clutch cable back into the lever, then reinstall the lever, which is really easy. All right, and then that part will be done. And the only thing left to do is actually put all the plastic back together. And like I said, refill the bike with oil and then test ride it. I'm going to do that tomorrow, and I'll let you guys know how that goes. But in the meantime, we're going to come around here and we're going to reinstall the clutch lever. All right, so I'm going to try to show you guys that as best I can. Let me see if I can get a good angle for you guys. Get you guys up close. All right. There's my handlebar. Let me grab my clutch lever off the floor. All right. All right, so here's the clutch lever. All right, it goes in just like that, okay? And when I squeeze, it goes that way. Now, here's the cable right here. You guys probably can hardly see it. All right, and I probably should have done this in first. All right, but no worries. We'll actually get it pulled out. All right, we'll put some slack on the other end. Let it get this end pulled out. It actually fits. There's if you see, there's a groove right there that it fits into. All right, once I get it in that groove, I just slip this back in, and then this bolt slides down. There's a hole here, slides right down in the hole, and we tighten everything up, and that part is done. So this might get a little bit tricky because I need to, from this side, push in to give myself some slack to allow me to pull that part out. All right, not as tricky as I thought it was going to be. Now that part is in, guess what? Clutch lever's back in. Perfect. Okay. Wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult, guys. I thought the bike was going to fight me a little bit. It's not that it's a difficult process, but I thought that the bike would fight me. But guess what? It didn't. So the last part is actually, hold on, guys. I'm a little crooked here. All right. You tell you what. Not going to worry about it. The last part, like I said, for me to put this bolt, drops right down in there. All right, we just gotta kind of have to play with it a little bit. Actually, no, I don't. I just need my handy dandy flathead screwdriver. Get it pushed all the way through. So let me grab that. And I got a few over here. We're gonna take the big one. All right, take big boy, big popper, and we'll get this screw down in there like it's supposed to be. And that's in. And guess what? The last part is just to put the nut back on the bottom. And I'll get that in place and use the screwdriver. Instead of trying to turn it with my hand, I'll just use the screwdriver to get it going. And I think this may also be a 10 millimeter if I remember correctly. If I don't have to go back to the previous video, which I don't think I do. I don't need the extender on that. All right, so let's see, guys. I believe that's a 10 millimeter bolt. And hold on, guys. Let's try to fit it by hand. That is not a 10 millimeter bolt. Okay. So I gotta find the correct, I gotta go grab the correct socket or wrench, or just regular wrench to fit, so I can make sure I tighten this up really well. We don't want to have any, any mishaps losing the clutch lever. So we're gonna do that, all right, and then we'll be all set to go. And I may not have left that tool out, or that particular socket out. So the question is, when I loosen this up, what did I use? That's the other part, guys. When you're putting everything back together, sometimes you kind of forget what you did in the first place. And that happens, no big deal. All right, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take a wild guess at this. The 10 millimeter was too small, was a tad too small. So we're going to go up to the 11. Actually, I'll correct myself. That was an 8 millimeter. So keep that in mind, guys. The bolts around the cover are 8 millimeter, not 10. So we went up to a 9, and 9 may be too small. All right, again, as I told you guys, I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know these things off the top of my head. So it's just a matter of trial and error. All right, we'll take the 10 and the 11. I know one of these has to fit. Okay, so we got the 10, which is the correct one. Perfect. All right. So we're going to take our 10 millimeter, put it on our small socket. We're just using it to hold this in place. All right, nothing more. So I can then tighten this down. And that's now tight. All right, don't have to be super tight, and we're good to go. All right, there's a little play there. We'll probably have to adjust that on the other end. But guys, that's it. Everything's back together. The only thing I didn't do was put the plastic back together. I'm gonna do that off camera, guys. I'm not gonna bore you guys to death with me trying to reach little hidden screws and all that kind of stuff, trying to put this thing back, trying to put this plastic back together. But I'm gonna button all of that up, and then that'll be it. The job will be done. Only thing that's left is to fill it with oil and test rod it. And like I said, I'm gonna let that sit. It takes an hour according to what's on the back of the container of the Yamaha/Honda Bond. So obviously it's nighttime now, so I'm not going to test ride it tonight. I'll test ride it tomorrow, and I'll just provide you guys a little update video just to let you know, hey, it worked or it didn't work. But we're all done. All right, so a little bit of patience, and Unfortunately, this took way longer than it should have because I was trying to follow Honda's instructions that said don't use a impact gun to take that lock nut off, when in actuality, that's what they do in the shop. All right, I found that out from Big Brother Toriano early today. That's the only way you can get that thing off. All right, so keep that in mind for you guys out there that are doing it yourself. Sometimes the manufacturer's documentation is a little bit different from what we do in practice or in the real world. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up. And guys, it's been fun. It's been a process, but we got it back together. So I'm going to close this out. And like I always tell you guys, to all my riders out there in the rider sphere, keep the shiny side up, keep the rubber side down. You guys be safe, and I will see you guys next time.